The opinions expressed on the Custody Queen Show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal, professional legal advice. The persons discussed are fictional and not based on actual clients.
Thought it was love, had kids in between. You can count on us, we're the Custody Queens. Yeah, you can count on us, we're the Custody Queens.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Lima Charlie, which means loud and clear for all of my SEAL Team fans out there. And we love all of our Go Country 105 fans. We are the Custody Queens, and today we have part 2 with Tyler Gray, who is an actor, director, and producer on SEAL Team. So we have so much more exciting stuff to talk about with him today, and I'm excited to get into it.
So thank you again, Tyler, for being here.
My pleasure.
So I think before we get into today's episode, we should maybe do a little high and low week in review. What do you think, Kristen?
I love reflecting back on my weeks. Usually there's more lows than highs, but I think this week will come out on top.
Do you want to start it off or should I?
You can.
Okay, so I would say my highs and lows this week. My high is I just got back from Philadelphia. Saw my really good friend who's going to nursing school, so that was amazing. Good time. Got to see the Liberty Bell, which was fabulous and very, very interesting. I think I'm now of the age where I truly appreciate history. You know, when you get to that age, because when you're younger, you kind of have no idea what's going on in history class. My low of the week, I don't know if I have one. I don't think I have a low.
Well, then that's killer. That means you came out on top.
Right.
All right, Tyler, what was your high and low of the week?
It's a great question. I would say my high was did something, which I won't get into detail, but there was some work on the show that was very...
Typical SEAL nature,
Yeah.
secrecy.
This is very challenging. It's probably the hardest acting I've done on the show, I should say. Or maybe not the hardest, but the like actual acting rather than just so, but I was very happy with that. Low, I think low is always at a certain point. You have that doubt, that fundamental doubt, and I don't want to call it depression, but just that kind of fear, that inherent fear. And I had that one of the days, and I was trying to figure out why. And ultimately, it was because there's so much. I personally, with a million different things, have so much change coming up, and that's it. It's not like it's bad. It's it's just change, and as humans, we fear what we don't know.
That's a great one.
It is, and
very true.
You could have actually took the words out of my mouth. Sam and I talk a lot on our show about professionals that juggle different hats. Aside being an attorney, I am a manager, I'm a partner, and I have 3 kids. And I had a tough week last week, and I'm very honest on the show of dealing with bouts of depression and anxiety. And you nailed it. The fear of the unknown is generally so much worse than the reality. But I am someone that if I don't kind of have a hard look in the mirror immediately, I go down a rabbit hole.
And change is uncomfortable for everyone. But it's necessary to grow. So I think that's really powerful. I mean, we all had those days, like our first day on the radio show, your first day in court as an attorney. So, but now we look back on it and you're like, wow, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I let myself be uncomfortable and vulnerable because it allowed me to grow. Yeah,
and as a parent, for me, when I have those low days, and I have a lot of tools, we always talk a lot about therapy and mental health and just making sure that you're doing the same training for your mental health as you are for your body, the exterior, your muscles, your brain works the same way. And when I get into that dark place, I know it affects my children and I know it affects my family as a whole. So it's, kind of having that hard check with yourself and saying, pull yourself out of where you're at and keep moving. So I had a couple of days too like that, Tyler. And my high, well, of course, you're
we
here.
We all know you're high, Kristen. You don't gotta say it.
That's a no-brainer. As a long-time fan and just I have a lot of admiration for what you guys do, because I know what you guys do is not easy. And again, the education that you're bringing to the world, and also how it ties in to what a lot of stuff Sam and I deal with our clients that are in the military. And for everyone that's listening, we do offer a service discount to everyone that is in the military or a spouse of someone that is in the military and veterans. We do offer a 25% discount off of your bill every month. So if you are thinking about calling to modify custody orders because you're back from deployment, or you know that you're going to be facing some changes, don't wait. Call us at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772.
Yeah, and that's really just our small way of saying thank you to veterans out there and active military. Anyone who wasn't around for last episode, you got to go watch it on YouTube or watch it again, because it's great. But just to kind of recap, Tyler's here. He is a producer, actor, and director on SEAL Team. And we also last time talked a little bit about his background being a ranger and a sniper and all that good stuff. So I kind of wanted to take a step back and go to your real world experience being a sniper. And I know that last time we were here, you shared a little bit about being medically discharged. If you wanted to share that, I think everyone would love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where, when you deploy overseas, not that bad things can't happen in training, because obviously it can, but I think getting injured, getting wounded is something that everyone kind of pushes out of their mind, because it would make the job harder to do.
Right.
But there's a little awareness there, and on one of my deployments to Iraq, I got blown up in a house in actually Sadr City specifically, which is not a nice neighborhood. But I got blown up on a nighttime raid, and it was life-changing, obviously in a split second. And for me now, though, like, I have no problem talking about it at all, because it's the biggest mistake that you can do post-injury, or post-change, I should say, any change,
right.
Any major change, I should say, is have the mentality of, I just need to get back to the way I was. Oh, if I could only get back to the old me. No matter what you do, if you keep trying to do that, you will never be able to move forward, because it's literally impossible.
Right.
You're just setting yourself up for failure. And with your injury, and also just with what the world's been through the last year, and obviously we get a lot of clients or people that are calling and they're talking about divorce or change, as you said, and it's exactly the same advice that we give them. Your life is going to change. You're going from one household now to two households. Your kids are being divided in a sense of a timeshare. There is change, but change doesn't necessarily always have to be bad. But for someone to be able to really soak that and embrace it, it's challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and it's even stranger, like, because, I look back on I can't think of a single thing in my life that was super, the worst things in my life, let's just say, at the time. Right now, I can't think of a single one that didn't end up being the best thing for me. Can't think of a single one.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and we may not understand what that reason is when we're in the middle of it, but I agree. I think that everything allows us, that happens to us, to evolve to the next step. If I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have learned this, I wouldn't have had that job opportunity.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this best thing that ever happened to me. No question.
And one thing I love about your story, and it's transparent on your social media, is your projection of hope and moving on and not looking backwards, because that's something we try to train our clients to, is if you don't have hope, you don't have anything, and I love the way that you share with the transparency on your social media with the world.
Yeah, and it's really true, especially again, kind of going back to family law. When you think about clients and people going through divorce, a lot of times initially it's the idea is, oh no, I failed. We didn't keep the family unit together, etc. But long term, over time, people often create these really beautiful alternative realities for themselves, whether that's having a different family or a blended family or doing something else. And so it can actually end up being a life-saving thing in a way.
Yeah. All right, Tyler, if I were to ask you what your favorite SEAL Team episode is or was, what would that be?
That's a tough question. I mean, there's several that I can think of. One that I think, one of our best, I think, is 219, when, well, I won't say exactly what happens, but the episode with Swanee.
I loved that.
And the
that
contrast
storyline
between the storylines, I thought was, and I'm friends with the director, he's a great guy, and it was very well done. I'm very proud of that episode.
I agree. And I don't want to, have any spoilers for all of you that are going to take my advice and go binge watch SEAL Team, which is on Paramount Plus. But just a little overview really quick is there was a series of episodes that talked really about mental health and diagnosis and the issues and problems that are clearly in place right now with the veterans and their availability to healthcare. And if something isn't quote unquote in your jacket, which is their medical profile, then they can't get the medical treatment that they need. And again, when I talk about the education that the show brings, here most people will talk and say, oh, that they get, free healthcare for life. They don't realize that you get an appointment 3 or 4 months out. You don't realize the flaws with the system. So the way that those series of episodes were portrayed were incredibly well done.
Yeah. I was I thought they really assessed or really portrayed some real stuff that's going on. And one thing that I wanted to mention, which I haven't said yet, is the show from the beginning. The whole point of it was it's about a team. We never, and this was from Chris Chulak, we never break the team's perspective. Every single scene is from their perspective. There's no politics involved. There's nothing, because it's the team. Mm-hmm. You get told what to do and you go do it. And I think that also is what, we're not trying to say anything other than this is an experience. This is a human experience with this group of people that resonates with, the entire military community. What put them there, all the big issues that you usually see Hollywood talking about, I mean, that's not what the show's about. And I think that's why people identify with it.
I agree. It's relatable. Obviously, I have never breached a door, but I can relate to a lot of the issues that come up with the family dynamics. I love how the women on your show are rising to these top level positions and, bossing the men around, I love seeing women climb with the men. We all are on this earth together and we are a team, and it's been a rough year for the team. So I hope that we can all make the next year a little bit more united. But Tyler, you had mentioned to me earlier that there was an all-female unit.
Yeah. It was called CST, Combat Support Teams. And there's been several actually. The Marine one was called, oh man, Marines are gonna get mad at me. I can't think of it right now. But I believe the Marines started it. And then the Army's version, which obviously I'm more familiar with, was called CST, Combat Support Teams. And it was basically, I forget the exact timeline, I think around 2009, 10-ish, they figured out, hey, like, we, the men, can't, literally, culturally, can't deal with the women at all. Mm-hmm. So we're losing half of the people to talk to, glean information from, all these different things. So they put together these, the Marine one is like right on the tip of my tongue, but they put together these units, and the women, because they were put together, they were all drawn from different jobs, MOSs, and then put together in these cultural support teams, and trained up, and then assigned to special operations units like Rangers and Green Berets to go on missions. And again, I think in the military's grand scheme, they'll be on the ground, but their job isn't combat, and it's like, yeah, but so it was kind of an interesting. This was before women were officially allowed into combat MOSs, but that was created and that existed, and it's very unknown, but it's something that was very real. And
I think you should write a show about it.
I've been wanting to,
just saying.
It's a great story, absolutely is, and I think there's so many stories within that need to be told.
I agree. We've had over the last year on our show, Sam and I have talked about experiences that we've had as women, and where I've been asked to sit somewhere else because I don't look like an attorney, or I am too young to be an attorney, and I'm not. I'm almost 41. But women have evolved immensely, even in the legal field, which is still male-driven. But the fact that we didn't even know those existed is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's and by the way, the Lioness program.
Okay, you are redeemed by
We only had a couple of minutes to figure that one out.
No, I got it. Yeah, Lioness program. And but yeah, it's such a. I mean, and I could, there's so many different stories that I've heard. Just knowing so many different women.
And you guys have had a lot of really strong female actors on your show. For instance, I think season 1, when you're in Afghanistan, you needed to have women to be able to talk to, the other women on the show.
Yeah.
And then I think the helicopter crash, I don't exactly remember. But she was a pretty high up, woman. And I love just seeing these women kick. I don't think I can say the A word, but kick butt. Everyone knows where I'm going with that.
Well, you know what I love, Kristen?
What?
I love the idea of you being on the SEAL team show. Because if you know Kristen Holstrom, you know that this girl eats, breathes, and sleeps the SEAL team. She loves
you're kind
it.
of making me sound like a stalker.
You're not a stalker. You are the ultimate fan, but I think you're more than that. I think that you need to be casted as a potential dead body. I don't know. But I think it would be really fun today if we went through a script. So our producers have went ahead and kind of put together a little script for Kristen and Tyler to go through, and I think that it would be fun.
Of course they have. So, and of course, no prep time either, because everything I do, I usually prep way in advance. But I'll play the part. I'll show Tyler that I could, be a good dead body.
Well, I think this is definitely a larger part than a dead body.
Well, and I have to say one thing really quick. When I think I DM'd you one time, and then I had read this thing about sliding into DMs, and I was like, oh my gosh, Sam, am I sliding into DMs? Because I'm really just networking, and so I got all scared that people are thinking I'm sliding into DMs. So for everyone listening, I am not a stalker. I am
a superstar. You are a superstar.
I should be on payroll for marketing, but I recognize great work at all professions.
Thank you.
So I guess, Tyler, we're going to play a scene where my name is Nell, and I already commented that Nell is not the most glamorous name for someone like me, but I'll go with it.
Go with it. That's the character, though.
And you know what?
That's separating you from the character.
Yes, and this does, it definitely is relatable to me as a mom of 3 with a 1-year-old.
I can imagine.
All right. I think the baby is finally asleep.
The terrible 2 is 2.
And we're actually awake.
Well, what do we do?
I think this is our first moment alone since the baby was born.
Wait, who are you again?
I'm your wife. I'm Nell. Nice to meet you.
Oh, and yeah, I'm Mel. Come here often?
Not often enough.
Did it hurt?
Did what hurt?
Like when you fell down from heaven.
Oh my gosh, that is the worst pickup line ever.
Well, you look like an angel to me.
Oh, stop.
Would it be too forward to ask for a kiss?
But we just met.
No, we've met before. Once upon a dream.
Okay, a grown man quoting Sleeping Beauty is not romantic.
Hey, I love kissing you when you're asleep.
That's about the only chance we get, because I'm always tired.
How about now?
Dare we?
I'll check on the kids.
And that is to be continued.
I think you would be great.
I haven't read a script in a long time.
You did fabulous,
I
Kristen.
remember my mom and dad driving me in between soccer practice in the back of our Astro van, trying to get us to memorize scripts. And I do have somewhat of photographic memory. But yeah, and then when you got a commercial or a part, my agent would ring a bell. So brings back some memories.
I think you did excellent. Tyler, how do you think Kristen did?
I think she did a great job. Great job.
Yeah, I did notice, Tyler, that they could definitely introduce some more of your personal life on the show. So, same with Justin. I think I'd love to see a little bit more of you as real people and storylines.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of story to you have a lot of characters to balance, and we're there to do what we can, and whatever opportunities we've been given, always do the best we can with them. It's one of those things where you have these messages that you want to say through the main characters, and it takes a long time to set up where you want to go with each character, with each season.
Yeah, and I don't want to give any spoilers, but some of the new episodes that are airing in season 3, I think the setup goes all the way back to season 1, with obviously the main character. And again, it's just, I don't want to give any spoilers because you got to go out and watch the shows. But no one asked me what my favorite episode was, so
What's your favorite episode,
Oh yeah,
Kristen?
I want to know.
So I guess I have 2 favorite episodes, and one was just like the action, it was incredible. And it was the episode where Ray, you guys are Neil Brown Jr., you guys are all skydiving, jumping out of the plane. I think it was the end of season 3, if I'm correct. And Ray got separated from the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And he had a real epiphany, with his own religious beliefs and internal conflict that he had been having throughout the show or the season. And it weighed very heavily on him. And he had the option to do something that would save his life and the option to do something that without the team, he wouldn't survive it. And Ray, Neil Brown Jr. plays an incredible role on the show. He's an incredible actor. But that was that was just a personal favorite because the way you guys got airlifted by.
Yeah, that's the first time it's ever been done on TV.
It was incredible. It was a moment where Ray had one bullet left, and there was an army of terrorists coming after him, and all of a sudden you see Jason, his name on the show, and right? Did I get that right? Okay. He literally just says, "Ray, down!" And then you see the whole team, and the next thing they're getting airlifted by a helicopter, all of them. So it's a moment where I felt that he got through some self-conflict.
Yeah, that was 221, end of season 2.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Okay.
And then my other favorite episode was when Ray finally came clean with suffering from PTS. I noticed that we dropped the D on the PTSD. Is that correct, Tyler?
Well, on the show, on that scene specifically, yeah. I mean, it's I won't say a controversy, but I understand the kind of both sides of it. For me, whether it's using the word disorder, to me it's not what it is to anyone else, it's what it is to me. Mm-hmm. So I don't personally I don't care what it was called, because none of those names are exactly what it is to me.
Right.
I agree.
And I think that's part of the thing is like that diagnosis or that label means so many different things to so many different people. And it's also not something even remotely unique to the military.
Yeah.
You could have, you know, PTSD, whatever you want to call it, from a car accident, you know, and so we're talking about a very specific term for an extremely broad set of circumstances and experiences. So,
but I love the way that you guys are making it common for people in the military to be more open about their emotions and their challenges with their mental health. I mean, we tell our clients constantly, the first thing I ask a client when they retain that's going through a high conflict case is, do you have a therapist? If you don't, get one.
Right.
Because your situation is unique, and a lot of people are still so afraid to say that they have issues.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, I think, you know, what I've learned talking, because I try and help, you know, with what I've learned mentally about myself. I also did a documentary, I don't know if I mentioned it, but That Which I Love Destroys Me. I don't know if you've seen it. But
I haven't. I will check it out.
Yeah,
it's a great title.
It was. Well, I actually stole it from a Latin phrase, but then modified it. But it's all about you know, kind of the mental health journey I took once I got out after being wounded. And you know, what I learned about myself is the person that is hardest on you is always yourself.
Yeah.
Always yourself. You are failing to live up to your own expectations, not other people's, yours. And then the phrase that I use all the time is, if you've ever said, why can't I get through this? Why is this so tough? Like, those are definitive words that that you're struggling with something that, in my opinion, you're trying to get. Again, it's just a new level of mental difficulty that you haven't faced.
You haven't mastered yet.
And everyone, you know, the biggest thing I could say is that everyone needs to really look at their mental health, and like you said, get a therapist. Like, don't think any one thing is the solution.
Yeah.
You know,
and you spend a lot of time in your head, so make it a good place to be. You know, I am my own worst self-critic. I mean, when we first started filming, I would go home and I go, I hate my voice, I hate the way I did this, I hate the way I laugh, I hate the way I say this letter. And, you know, Sam would be like, oh, you know, you did great. And being any sort of type A professional, director, actor, lawyer, doctor, we are so hard on ourselves. And we've shared a lot of information this past year, had a lot of mental health experts on our show because I am so passionate about it. And you had an accident that you went through during a pandemic, you know, while filming, and the way that you handled that and shared it with people and still continued hope was very admirable to me.
No, thank you. It's the easiest thing that I can say that I've learned is, unless it kills you, which then everything else is kind of irrelevant. But unless something kills you, it really is going to make you stronger, because I have constantly thought things were going to break me, or even did break me, but I still overcome them.
Mm-hmm. And that happens a lot in our field. So everyone listening, remember, tomorrow isn't promised. Tyler talks a lot about this on his social media. So be nice to yourself, love change, evolve. If you're not evolving, you're not existing. So
yeah, and also talk about it. For me, I mean, I know I've had unique experiences, and each of us here have, none necessarily greater than the other, but for me, it's always really powerful to hear someone else's story and that other people have struggled in ways, and not because I want other people to struggle in ways, but it's helpful to know that you're not alone and to get that out there.
Yeah, I think if everyone was as transparent as the custody queens, you know, we all have to realize that we all have problems, and it's how we face those problems, and that is very relevant to everything we've talked about today and in family law in general. It's overcoming the challenges. But Tyler, thank you so much for coming back again for part 2. I truly enjoyed having you. I love kind of, you know, going through the episodes and talking shop with you. It was a lot of fun, and I think you provided a lot of very valuable information about mental health, your journey with our listeners on Go Country 105.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And if you're ever looking for a Kristen type cast member, I have one for you.
I'm just going to be reading the scripts, looking for
exactly.
Outgoing blonde.
I'll make sure I DM you. But thank you everybody for joining us. As of right now, I am still a custody queen, and we are certified family law specialist. And you can find us on custodyqueens.com, and you can find this episode and all of our past episodes on custodyqueensair.com, and they are streaming on all of the podcast platforms. But I think it was a great show. We loved having you, and we look forward to seeing all of you on Go Country 105 next week.
And as always, remember,
let love rule.